Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm going to be reacting to Undoing Life, Swami Anubhavananda. So this is going to be a multi-parter. It's an hour long. It's one of the few ones that I could find of his that's not an hour long, but 7 parts. So anyways, I'm not sure what he means by this. He can go multiple ways based on its definition. But anyways, let's go give this video a shot.
Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Doing, then undoing, then not doing. Three up there. Our whole life is struggle to do something because we want something. See? Why we want something? Because of two reasons. One is we have a sense of incompleteness. When you have eaten food to such an extent that you can show to others, hey, what did you eat? Jalebi. When you have eaten so much, will you have desire for food? No. So whenever we have a sense of incompleteness, then only the desire comes. And this desire becomes a propelling force and which pushes us into activity. So these are the three things. A sense of incompleteness. There is no logic behind it. See? Now take a common example. A young boy, well educated, softy you know, software engineer. A softy having a good job and a lot of money and freedom, yet he starts thinking, what a life without a wife. Then he gets married. Then again, what a life because of the wife. So first, he did get married. Then he does want to get out. So our whole life is this struggle. Do something, undo something. Do something, undo something. Why not relax? See? Therefore, what is doing? Doing is when action is associated with a sense of doership, then it becomes doing. See? A flower opens, a real one. A flower opens and does not give fragrance. Flower has fragrance. The sun does not give light. Sun is light. And therefore, whether it is a death procession or it is a marriage procession, both are same. See? Both of them are equally illuminated by the sun. Therefore, whenever there is a sense of doership, karma or doing happens. Now see, what is the meaning of undoing? Okay, I will not do anything. No, not that way. So doing is a problem, not doing is a problem, then undoing is the solution. Now what is undoing? See? This is a very simple common example. I am seeing you all, everything. Red color, blue color, pink. Are my eyes changing the colors? No. Are the eyes influenced by the objects that are seen by the eyes? When the eyes are seeing a boy, do they become masculine? When the eyes are seeing a girl, do they become feminine? When the eyes see the white, do they become white? No. So, eyes are not doing anything. They are only illuminating. See, if we see something and stop there, we have learned the art of undoing. See, in Dakshinamurti Stotra, the first verse, see, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam. So, what is a mirror? Mirror is the one who reflects anything that comes in front of it, doesn't reject, doesn't choose, and does not get influenced by anything. Therefore, mirror does not have memory, mirror does not have past, mirror does not have a personality. Do you know who has seen in me? See? No. And yet the things are done. Now apply the same principle to the mind. If we or if anything which comes in front of our mind, it will be reflected. If we stop there, we have learned the art of undoing. See, one of our mantra is Dekho, suno, mat bolo. See, hear, no comments. But we have to comment. Old habit. And nobody can help us. Therefore, the first step, we respond to the world through words. And what are words? Words are grossified mind is the word. Mind is the cause, words are the effect. Like water is the cause, ice is the effect. But both of them are water. And therefore, let us start doing the process of undoing. See how it can be achieved. It's very simple, it's not difficult. I'll give you freedom. Think anything you want. One condition. Don't use any words. Can you think? You cannot think. See? One experiment of undoing. Now, second experiment. Become parents or children and think. Stop. Third experiment. Concluding. Remain as Mr. Nobody. Over. Now see. When you became children or parents, your thoughts were with reference to children or parents. So what is the rule? How the doing begins? At the root of every thought, there is a seed of Mr. Somebody. When we remain as nobody, there is no seed, therefore no thoughts. See? Knowledge reaction, desire, action. Knowledge. This flower is so beautiful. Stop here, no problem. Reaction. Should I pluck it up? Nobody is watching me. See? Reaction. Then I pluck. See? So, when we have the knowledge about this world, we have the old training to our mind that we have to respond one way or not respond, we react. See? And the reaction is in the form of words. Thoughts cannot come out of the mind without putting the clothes of words. When we come out of the house, we put on clothes. We don't come without clothes. Exactly the same way. Thoughts come out of the mind by putting the clothes of the words. See? And
Real quick. So the mirror thing towards roughly halfway through here was a little bit confusing because to me a mirror is a reflection of what's being thrown at you. So if you're mirrored, my assumption, at least from my thought, was you do what is done to you. Because it's a reflection. If someone punches like someone's facing a mirror and they punch at the mirror, not the mirror itself, but they punch at it, then you'll see the reflection doing the exact same thing. So I didn't quite understand what he meant by that, as in the mirror portion of it. It's almost like the golden rule a little bit. Do to others as done to you, or actually not the golden rule. The golden rule is do unto others what you want done to yourself. So if you want other people to be nice to you, then you be nice to them first, generally speaking. But the mirror is more along the lines that you mimic what other people do. But the problem is, I guess, with the mirror, it has no thoughts or attachments to things, but it does just mimic things for no reason. Um, I don't know if he means it that way. I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't think he means it to mean like reflect what other people do to you. So if someone, is rude to you, then you just mimic that action. So I'm kind of a bit confused on the mirror part. See what else. Well, let's just continue.
those words, those thoughts, they make us uncomfortable. And that uncomfortable condition is expressing as doing something. And when doing happens, a doer is born. And because of this disease of doing, we do everything. We do meditation. Never do meditation if you want to be happy in life. See, all those who do
Mm.
meditation, they suffer. And how they suffer? Silently. Are? Come suffer loudly.
Okay, I think I get this one. I mean, as I hear Morpher's jokes, I try to understand them. So in a sense, it's not necessarily that you do not do meditation, but it's when you're doing meditation, you're not doing it as a doer. So you're, how do I say, detach from meditation in a sense, because generally speaking, when you meditate, you want something from it. There's a purpose behind meditation, and you seek that purpose. If you don't get what you're trying to meditate for, then you're going to be suffering. So the whole point is to meditate without doership. To me, that's very similar to um, doing something without reward. So like when you're nice to someone, don't expect anything in return. And so, in some sense, it's very similar to the no doership part. But for me, I guess there is a doership part, but there is but it's the, I guess the, how do I say? It's not expecting a result from it. Um, which in a lot of sense is very similar to the no doership part, because if you don't have doership, then you're not expecting anything at all. Whereas in mine, you can have an expectation of a reward somewhat, but don't expect it. So that way, if you do get a reward, that's nice. But if you don't, then, well, guess what? You're already expecting that anyway. So you're not going to be disappointed. You're just going to be, oh, that's pretty nice. I'm happy. The only time that you'll, I guess, essentially you're going to be either happy or expected anyway.
See? And what is the meditation? They sit quiet. But Swamiji, whenever I sit for meditation, quite too many thoughts come. What should I do? Don't do meditation. No, but my guru told, then do. But too many thoughts come, then don't do. We know only one thing about our mind: complain, complain, complain. Don't complain about the mind. Work on the mind. When we start working on the mind, you will attain this principle of undoing very easily. So we must know what is the mechanics of mind's working. See, there are so many different ways to look at it. So the first step we have to understand that we are able to live in this world without reacting to anything. So how the world comes to us? It comes to us in two ways. Either forms or words. There is nothing third thing. Somebody comes, form, reaction. Hey, what's your name? Is it necessary to know? See? Like Amma came and she wanted to introduce me. Many people introduce me in such a manner that I am surprised myself. Is it really me? So I told her, don't tell anything. See? Mind cannot survive in the utter present. And who?
Real quick before we go into that, it's like, hold on, let's rewind that. Um, Reaction. Two ways, either form or worse. Nothing comes through the reaction. Hmm. Okay. Interesting. I'd say there's nothing wrong with reactions. A bit of, I guess we kind of have to define a bit of a reaction, because whenever he said reaction, it's more like he was thinking. It's like, ooh, this is a beautiful flower. That's that was the initial thing. The reaction is, I believe he said, should I pluck the flowers? No one's here watching me. I'd say that's more of not reaction, but a thought. Like a thought process. To me, there's nothing wrong with necessarily about thinking about all the things. The biggest thing for me is how you act. So, do I pick the flowers? Do you actually pick the flowers, or do you leave the flowers alone? Is the most important part. Because thinking about all these things are just possibilities. They're not realities. But I'm wondering why reaction is kind of bad. I mean, reaction, again, in terms of its definition of it, which, at least from this one, it seems like thinking, thinking about doing something. Like if someone says hi to you, you like, do I say hi back or do I just ignore it? There's a choice to be had, something that you may want to do. I mean, saying hi to someone is not going to hurt anything. You're not going to suffer from saying, well, I mean, I guess you could suffer from saying hi from someone, but at the same time, by not doing something, you could also suffer as well. because then that person could say, "Oh, that person's rude, bad karma, maybe." You know, by doing something, I guess in terms of Hinduism and based on the karma, you want to do good karma, so you want to do good things. It's only polite to say hello back, right? Because you're by not choosing not to do it, you're probably developing bad karma. It's I wouldn't say it's necessarily rude not to say hello to someone, but it can be perceived that way, and it could end up being that way. It could be rude. But anyways, so you have these thoughts that is essentially just choices that you have to make in life. Again, nothing, in my opinion, wrong with it because you're gonna have to choose one of those things, and you want to know all your opinions. You want to know all your choices in life, all because of all the knowledge that you've obtained. Now, that doesn't mean you know everything. It's just that you know some options. Sometimes you'll know it's like, well, if I say hi to this person, we're gonna be sitting here talking for 30 minutes. I just know it, but gotta get good karma. Hey, how's it going? Uh, I know, again, unless I'm misunderstanding something. Again, I struggle to understand him, so I'm trying to find this longer form videos instead of just shorter ones, and hope that I can start understanding him a lot better. I've been amazingly been finding some of his shorter videos, hour-long videos that are just an hour long, as opposed to an hour-long video that's part one of 7 or part one of 13.
In the utter present. And who wants to die? Unless you are an Australian. Do you know Australians? First time when one Australian came in India, he came to meet me. I said, hey, when you have come to die? I said, I am not asking the purpose. When did you come? To die. What he meant? Today. Australians don't live today, they die. See? So the mind doesn't want to die, and therefore the mind will either go in the past or in the future. Now see, undoing. Is it necessary to talk about our past? One of the mantra is, who asked you? See? These mantras are very deep. Complete Vedanta is included in that. And I got all these mantras from you all. You are all my guru. See? A poor person has got only one guru. I am so rich. Every one of you is my guru. Because you can learn. Learning is a process of undoing in life when you learn. See? So I was in Badrinath, finished my morning 4 o'clock darshan, and came to one Amma. This Amma was so sweet. She had the whole Bhagavad Mahapuran, Kantastha, and before Narayana she will chant the whole chapter and then come down. So that day when I came, I said, Mama, I am not going to give any more lectures. Too many lecture, enough is enough. She didn't ask me, but she started laughing. I said, Mama, why are you laughing? Is it a joke or what? She said, there cannot be a better joke than this. I said, what is the joke? Whose question you are answering? Did Narayana ask you whether you want to give talk or not? He didn't ask. Did I ask you whether you want to give talk or not? No, you didn't ask me. Whose question you are answering? See? Who asked you? Keep on talking. See, the other day it so happened, I don't want to know. See, friends, we keep on unnecessarily talking. And this is how the mind is grossified. Like if you take water, keep it in any container. Let it be a flat plate, let it be a glass, let it be a test tube, let it be a capillary tube. Water is comfortable everywhere because no personality. And ice cubes, they want their own place. No, 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 no. Let our mind be not grossified in words. Therefore, Maunam Vyakhya Prakatita Para Brahma Tattvam Yuvanam Varshishtante Vasadrushi Avrutam Brahma Vrindaihi Acharyendram Karakalita Chin Mudramananda Rupam Swatmaramam Mudita Vadanam Dakshina Murti Mide. I am not going to do that mudra again. He wanted to take the picture of this thing.
Real quick, I don't think he translated that. I was gonna ask in the very beginning, I believe the speech he spoke, the mantra, I think, or the thing that he does in the very beginning of the session. I have no idea what it means. If someone can translate that, and please say this is a translation of what he said in the beginning. You know, this is translation at 18 minutes. I know Swami Sarvapriyananda tends to translate. He says something in Hindi, then he translates it to English, so I can at least understand it. I don't know if he does that. I don't think he does. He just he just says it. So sometimes maybe that's the reason why I'm lost. I don't think so though. I think I mostly grasp what he says, and there's going to be times where I'm going to be lost whenever he says something in, I assume, Hindi. But I think it's the way he speaks, the way he, um, how do I say? Generally speaking, we have this understanding of how people understand us. So when you talk to someone, the way you talk to them is based on how you know them. So you know how to talk to someone so that they understand you, and then you talk to someone else that same way, they probably won't understand you, even though you've been friends with them for a long time, because you have a particular way of talking to people. Generally speaking, generally, the way you talk to your friends are all similar, but the way you talk to your boss is going to be different. And if you try to talk to your boss the same way you talk to your friends, he's not going to understand what you say unless he's around that same understanding or whatever. But generally speaking, there still might be some miscommunications. So that's what I'm trying to understand, how he speaks, the way he uses examples, how he uses words in particular.
Do you know what is this mudra? You must not have seen or seen, I don't. There is something called a snuff. You know snuff? So they take the snuff. See. Undoing. What is undoing? Let us analyze our personality, then we will learn the art of undoing. So, what is our personality? We have got 5 layers. See? Scientific discovery. So, we have to discover ourselves. So, one is gross body, Annamaya Kosh. Second is Pranamaya Kosh, life principle, activities. Third is Manomaya Kosh, instrument of knowledge. The question comes, whose body, whose life, whose mind? Of course, my. So, body, life, mind, and I. See? This I is the one who is doing everything. Dissolve this I. See? How this I is born? Be very attentive. There are 2 I's, not the EYE. One is small I, iPhone I, and second is the capital I. See? Now this I is so strong that if you want to tell something to somebody, suppose I want to tell, now I am going to threaten you, okay? And I use this finger and I put it here. I am going to threaten you. So what he will say? Okay, I'll go and come back. See? I is indicated by this tarjani. It's called a tarjani. Tarjani means a threatening. Tarjanam yamadutanam varjanam. See? Tarjana. Tarjani. And where this I goes to tell, I am telling you, we don't say I am telling you. I say I am telling you. So where are we? We are in the center, sternum point. It is here the I manifests, and that I is non-specific I. Is common. See? Now this I, which is non-specific, he becomes identified with the mind. Because nearest. So when the I gets identified with the mind, he becomes happy or miserable. Because mind has got only two experiences, dvandva, joy or sorrows. There is no third experience. So I gets identified with the miseries, I becomes miserable. I gets identified with the joy, I becomes joyful. Personality is born. So when I become joyful or miserable, then I want to do something. For doing something, I require Shakti, power. Then I gets identified with the Pranamaya Kosha. See? And then the instrument or the instrument through which I have to function is the body. A personality is born. I identified with the mind, prana and the body. So I has gone one with the three. And the fourth one is all alone. See? And then this I. Now see the politics? 3:1. Democracy. So whatever the mind wants, gets the energy from the prana and does the action by the body. See? Now if this mind can be separated from the mind, if I can be separated from the mind, prana and the body, what will happen? I will go through experience of joy, but will not become joyful. Go through the experience of miseries, but will not become miserable. So if you do not become joyful or become miserable, you will not act. We can attribute the miseries to somebody or something. For example, if I am a husband, thank God I am not. Suppose I am a husband. So what is the cause of my misery? Wife. Default settings.
Default settings.
If I am a father, the cause of misery is the kids. See, we are all expert in blaming others for all the miseries of our life. No problem. That you can do it. But the question is, after the miseries come, to be miserable or not to be miserable is a choice given to us by God.
I'll kind of go over what he said about he says life, body, mind, little I, and I guess big I. So, whenever it says that this I gets detached from the life, body, and mind, it becomes joyful. It becomes joyful without joy, or something along those lines. Essentially, experience joy without being joyful. But that's kind of weird, and that's something that I'm kind of like, I guess, kind of what I pursue. Because it's the reason why I say it's kind of weird because from what when I see or from what I hear from Swami Vivekananda, where he still cries, he still weeps, he still feels emotion. It's like it's not. It's again to me. There's no, in this sense, no detachment but I don't know. Again, there's too few words for me to understand that. But my assumption is the fact that obviously you still feel these things even though you are enlightened or detached from these emotions. And to me, that's a little bit odd. It's just maybe it's my perspective on things is that I want to understand that there's sorrow in life and there's joy in life, that I can enjoy the joyfulness of life without suffering the sorrow in life, but still understanding it. So it's not necessarily a detachment of these emotions, but more of an understanding so that you can enjoy the joyfulness of life and the sorrow. It's not necessarily sadness per se, but more of something not going your way and you understand it. So you're not suffering from it. And this is kind of like what he's saying, I think, from my understanding, this is kind of like what he's saying, where you're able to experience joy without being joyful. Although I will say I'd rather experience joy and be joyful. I'd rather be able to experience the suffering but not suffer. If that makes any sense. But it's not to say to suffer, but to understand the situation. A situation which causes suffering, but you don't suffer from the suffering because you understand the situation. Um, Again, I'm not sitting here going to say that I'm enlightened or that I never suffer. That's absolutely not the truth. But I do suffer less because of me understanding the situation. I hope that makes sense. And the reason why Swami Vivekananda it's a little bit confusing again, I'm not sitting here watching him talk. I don't know what it's like. I've only heard from other people, and they express certain things from him that that seems a bit confusing. But again, without watching many of his videos or seeing the person talk in person, or not necessarily in person, but just seeing the person talk even on YouTube. That'd be kind of weird. So I'm a Vivekananda on YouTube. But, without seeing how he talks, how he explains things, and his interactions with situations, I don't know what it's like to see, I guess, to see what a person who is enlightened and is able to feel sorrow and stuff. What is that like? You know? And this is something that you can never, I don't think you can really see on YouTube necessarily, unless someone's, following Swami and just recording everything. It's like, oh, this is where he's crying now. It's like, it's really weird. Because obviously, like we see Swami Sarvapriyananda, Swami Tanamananda, and Swami Anubhavananda here, where they're not going to record themselves crying about a situation because they're not in that kind of situation. They're always going to be, generally speaking, in their ashram or temple or place or wherever it may be, um, and they'll be a bit highly suspicious for a camera crew or anyone with just recording these guys going to certain places and then seeing them cry. That might be a bit suspicious. But anyways, but that's the only time you'll really get to see if they're being authentic. That's the only time you'll ever see them. How well, I don't know if they consider themselves enlightened or not. I don't think so. Whether they are or not, I don't know. But to see what an enlightened person handles a suffering situation, like a tragedy because of natural disasters or something like that, to be able to see what an enlightened person crying looks like, I guess, and to try to grasp or understand that. That's something I've never seen, so I don't know what that's like. That's why it's for me. It's hard to understand how is one enlightened who is detached from the suffering, all that, still suffering because they're crying. You say they're detached, but yet they're crying. Well, how does to me that doesn't make sense. I mean, to some degree, I guess it kind of makes sense. You can feel sorry for the situation and still not necessarily be attached. Well, I don't know. I'm talking too much. I need to think about that a little bit more. Let's continue.
See, these days they have changed in immigration. I am coming here for so many years. Earlier, when you used to come, they used to have a long paper, immigration card, and so many questions. See? Are you a member of active terrorist organization? Yes, no. Only two answers, either yes or no. Do you carry the deadly weapons on your person? Yes or no. Now, who is going to write yes? But they write, they're dumb people. So, that big thing. So, we have a choice. Exactly the same way. When we were entering this world, we were given an immigration form by the Lord. You are entering the most miserable world. Question is asked, do you want to be miserable? Options are given, yes and no. Those who said yes, tathastu, may you be miserable. Friends, choose. Exercise your freedom. So when you are not miserable, you will go through the miseries. And yet, you will be happy. The best example for all of us is Bhagwan Ramakrishna Paramahansa. When he was toward the end, having the cancer problem, all the devotees used to tell him, why don't you tell mother, to help you get rid of the pain? And his problem was, I am not getting pain. I am not painful. Was it doing something? No. Getting identified is doing. Not getting identified is not rejecting doing, but it is undoing. See, friends. Therefore, when the I gets identified with the mind, he becomes joyful, miserable, and to remove that or to repeat it, he will be active. Now this I gets identified with the prana. Prana is a seat of hunger and thirst. So when there is a hunger, we will do something. When there is a thirst, we will do something. And when the I gets identified with the body, the whole samsara begins. See? Wherever I go, the same question. Swamiji, where are you from? So I am from your heart. Thank you, Swamiji. How does it matter where is from who? Does it make any difference? Now, why this happens? Because mind does not want to remain in the present. Suppose I say, I am from Honolulu. Honolulu? Where it is? I have not heard. See, I have not also heard about you. See, keep on going in the past. Try this Maha Mantra. Yesterday I have given one mantra to the people where I had retreat. I'll give you today a mantra. Follow that and see. You will learn the art of undoing. I'll say, you repeat it after me. Put your hand, right hand, on your heart. I hope it is on the left side. Just repeat. I'll say 3 times. Then I'll explain the meaning of that mantra. 7th May 2023. 7th May 2023. 7th May 2023. Now, the meaning of this mantra. You are not going to talk anything, good or bad, that happened in your life before this date. Now try to talk. Swamiji, last time you came before this date. Oh.
It's easy. I'd say I was just outside, as a matter of fact, today. There's still things to talk about, but... Well, anyways, I want to hear a little bit more of explanation.
Mind stops.
It did, for me. A little bit.
And mind stops, actions don't come out. We don't do something because of fear also. So not doing something out of fear is different. And undoing because you are not reacting is different. See, friends, he who does not have the past is Mr. Nobody. And nobody has nothing to talk. Now, he who doesn't have the past also doesn't have the future. Now, see how we do meditation. When we do meditation, we want to repeat the meditation what happened last time. One person asked me this question. Swamiji, last time you came, we did meditation with you, and that time I saw a nice light, bright light. But after that, the light is not coming. What is the reason? I said, your bulb is fused. Change it. Never think of repeating anything in life.
Hmm.
The moment you want to repeat, you have created time. So he who doesn't have the past doesn't have the future also. But what we do, we sit for meditation. And thereafter, I am telling you my experience. Earlier days, now I have stopped doing meditation. So, why they don't give the washing machines for washing the clothes? Every day we have to wash with the clothes, cold water, Is it cold water washing is realization? Have I come here for this? I want to study. I want to know this thing. But every day, cold water. Meditation. So try these two things. Don't talk about your past, that is, you are nobody. Don't plan what you are going to do afterwards. You have stopped the future. To remain in the present, is it an option or is it a compulsion? It's a compulsion. We have no option. Whether we want to live in the present or we don't want to live in the present. And be attentive. Those who laugh, they don't think. Those who think, they don't laugh. Because thinking takes you either in the past or in the future. Therefore, friends, learning this trick of the mind is the process of undoing. So when I gets identified with the mind, joy, sorrows, something doing will be happening. I gets identified with the prana, hunger, thirst, something will be done. I gets identified with the body, then we have to keep the figure of our body. See, I must do exercise every morning, I go running to reach nowhere. I am always surprised how people get so much attracted for the yoga, twisting the body. Yeah. Instead of that, straighten the mind. See? But then that becomes, and what is the greatness? Old people. I will not tell you the name. There is one Swamiji, very nice, old. He must be 98 now. I know him for so many years. So whenever I go, I do namaskar to him. First question, same question, so many years. Can you tell me, Maharaj, what is my age? That means his age. So I also give standardized reply. Maharaj, you may be 65. Yes, I know you will say that. I am. Then the other person is, Maharaj is 98. No. 98 years, 4 months, 13 days. Buried with the body identification. See?
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Okay, interesting. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't quite understand by the past and the present thing. I kind of get it, but at the same time, not really, because we kind of need to know these kind of things. I mean, for example, if you have a bill, right? That's going to be in the future, and you kind of have to think about that to make sure you can pay it off. If you're always thinking of only just in the now and never ever thinking about the future or the past, you're going to be late. Because if you say, oh, I just have that money in that thing, so well, then you already thought about the bill in the future. Again, I'm probably thinking too much into it, and maybe it's not about bills and responsibilities. Maybe it's other things that are more meaningless than responsible things. So I guess an example would be, I don't know. Maybe you are permitted to think about the past and the present in terms of things that you need to be responsible for. So your bills, your responsibilities are things that are acceptable to be thinking of the past past and future for, maybe. Or am I wrong in that too? But then, I mean, I don't see how you can do your bills and stuff because then you're like, oh, the bills due now. I had to send this in. Whoops. I don't know. Again, I'm probably thinking too much into it, or not enough into it. I don't know which one. But I guess because of how my mind is right now in terms of Advaita Vedanta, is that there's nothing wrong with anything. It's just whether you suffer from it or not. And I think the more things you understand, at least from my perspective, the less you'll suffer because you understand it. If you don't understand it, that's when usually suffering happens because you're like, why did this happen? You're questioning why things happen, and that's when you end up being suffering. But if you suffer and you understand why, then clearly you did something wrong. Then there's still the potentiality of not knowing because you're like, I did this, but why did it break? I know I did it right, but it's going wrong. So there's still the unknown. It's like everything's done right. If you know, then you don't suffer. It's like, I know I didn't put that in there correctly, and now it's flooding the place. Oh my gosh. So something went wrong, but you know what went wrong. You understand. So you, generally speaking, you don't suffer from it. Don't get me wrong. Your wallet's going to suffer from having to repair it or whatever. But it's just that because you know what caused it, that you don't suffer the same way as if you didn't know what caused it. You're like, it's like, oh, it's tight enough. All of a sudden it starts leaking everywhere. It's like, well, maybe not. I knew it wasn't that tight, but I figured maybe that was tight enough. Or when you go like, okay, this is really tight. Everything looks secure. I did it by the book. You leave, you come back, it's flooding. It's like, what's going on? I don't get it. So I do believe you suffer more if you don't understand something versus if you do. You could completely not suffer from understanding, but you could still suffer. Whereas if you don't understand, you could end up still, you generally speaking, you'd suffer more. Oh, being enlightened is a completely different story. I'm more talking along the lines of everyone else, the normies around here. But you could at least reduce your suffering by understanding. So I think I'm going to just do a two-parter in this one because I struggle to understand him, and that causes me not to speak too much. But I did actually talk quite a bit on this one. So anyways, this is part one of this. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sound down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.